Good evening, Arnold, and thank you for joining me on the Sami Parvez show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm living the dream.
Yeah, and why are you running in this election as MPP candidate for New Blue Party in Susan Mari? Sorry, I cannot pronounce it correctly,
That's all right.
but I know like what I'm talking about.
I know that's all cool. Sue Samery.
Susan
Well, the reason I got into the battle, I guess you could say, is I was one of the healthcare workers that had lost their job due to the vaccine mandates, and uh, lo and behold, I knew it was going to happen. But being a lab technician, I knew the ramifications of taking the vaccine shots and what because they weren't tested properly. But I think the main reason I got into battle is when you start really pushing I guess out west you call it the Soldier 1, 2, 3, and should say in Ontario called the WIN curriculum, where they're pushing all this pride ideology into the schools and onto the kids. And as an adult, I'm able to fight for myself. But when you have the government implementing all these ideologies onto the kids, I felt the kids don't need to learn this stuff. And it's kids can't protect themselves, and I just felt like it was my duty, and it's just I had to get in the battle to get all this ideology out of the schools, and basically, like if you look at it, our country is based on the supremacy of God and rule of law, and
Mhm.
we have to get back to them, back to what a country is based on. So it's like you can men supposedly are supposed to have like in Sicily is Italian town and supposed to have cognones, but for some reason the men don't seem to want to use them nowadays. And I think it's time that somebody had to stand up for the kids and the women in our society nowadays. So
Mhm. Yeah, and you mentioned you lost your job because of vaccine mandate that you did not get the vaccine.
I did not take the vaccine at all. No.
So you lost your job.
Yes, I did.
So after like these vaccine mandates now over, so you did not get your job back.
No,
Wow.
I'm one of the many healthcare workers and doctors and other workers that have not got their jobs back. Yeah,
hmm And you worked as a technician, like
a lab technician.
lab technician. And
Yeah.
we also let's begin with healthcare issue. Like this is a huge issue, particularly in Ontario. And as you work as a healthcare lab technician, and I know like we need if you get in walk in a lab, so there is huge like lots of people are there. Like they will wait, even though like I think last month I was walking through a lab where it says technician called in sick, and this lab we cannot do this lab testing. Like so it means we need more people like yourself. But when it comes to vaccine, so they get fired, and many people got fired due to this. And so could you please confirm like how many people got fired for not getting vaccine, particularly in Ontario from healthcare system, healthcare workers?
I don't know the exact number, but the way I look at it is one is too many. I mean, you have like nurses, doctors, like lab technicians myself. I mean, but the fact is that like especially the doctors and like the fact that doctors are there to give an opinion. Like for example, like if a person gets diagnosed with cancer, doctors usually get one or two or three different opinions because cancer is a pretty I mean, you want to make sure you make the diagnosis right.
Yep.
So, and doctors come out and they question this COVID stuff, and in the vaccine and said, well, there's never been any really testing on it. And so they want to make sure they get the right diagnosis for the patients. That's what they're that's what they're they want to that's why they want to be a doctor, to make people's lives better. And same thing as lab technician, nurse. Like, I mean, we're there to take care of people. We want to make sure we have the right information,
Mm-hmm.
and the right information wasn't being given to us.
Mm-hmm. And as you are running as MPP, so if you get elected, so what would you make sure that everyone should have the right information? And with respect to, like we have shortage of doctor, nurses, and lab technician. Like if you name it in healthcare sector, we are lack of everything. Like so what would you do differently or your party to make sure that every single Ontarian is the facility, like particularly a family doctor, and when they need the surgery, so they should not wait too long, and other, like if a pandemic comes in and we should not be forced to everyone should get vaccinated, otherwise you would lose your job, or you cannot get to work or go to school or sit in a plane or use the uh, uh, ch- like these transport public transport.
Well, first things first, like we have to the doctors, healthcare workers, and doctors and lab technicians and whoever. First things first, we have to get them back, get their jobs back, and I would think we have to give them back pay. But the biggest thing too is we have to get rid of the authority of the WHO in our healthcare system, because you have a foreign entity like the World Health Organization telling uh and they're not a elected official telling guiding us, our doctors, to do with their job. And so now doctors have lost their free speech. Now they're afraid to speak out because they're afraid of losing their license. You look like a Dr. Macus, Dr. Huff out in BC. Actually, he got reimbursed. Now he won his court case out there, but like we doctors should be able to give their opinions. I mean, that's how, because some doctors they find they find something wrong with somebody that another doctor doesn't find wrong with somebody, and they collaborate, they work together as a team to get. Well, I have you seen this these symptoms in a patient before? I've never seen them, so we have to give them back their free speech and the right to actually doctor the way you're supposed to doctor.
Mhm. And yeah, you are talking about free speech. Since like we know, like we have a liberal government, like since 2015, it seems like we don't have the free speech in Canada. Uh, so what? Okay, so what your party is going to do like differently to making sure that the I know like this could be a issue for federal government, but particularly in provincial level to make sure that everyone is their like rights, freedom of speech or freedom of expression. What is like this charter rights?
Well, last I heard, we live in a free country. I mean, but it seems like it's been taken away from us, and now they want to bring this ideology that, well, I think you're going to think something bad about somebody. Like seriously, like I mean, what like back in my days, we called everybody names, but we didn't take it personally. It's just the way it was, and you let it slide off your back, whatever. Now it's like, well, he looked at me the wrong way, so I'm going to go home and cry. Like this, I mean, we've gotten into society has lost their thick skin. I mean, it's just like the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Now it's the other way around. It's like, well, names will hurt me, but sticks and stones won't hurt me. It won't break my bones. It's like they've totally flipped the switch on it. Like like we've turned into a society that is they're afraid to even talk now because they're afraid that somebody's going to take it the wrong way, and they're afraid that big brother or big government is going to say, "Oh, you said a bad word, so we're going to put you in jail or something like that." I mean, you see what's happening in England right now. Like
Hmm.
it's sad because
Hmm. And who do you think is the responsible for all of this? Is it the this like government with their radical ideology, or like some blame should go to like particularly Canadian and specifically Ontarians? You know, like the Ontario is the largest number of like seats in the House of Common.
well, obviously our government is to blame. I mean, they've taken us from a society that we had one of the like we had one of the proudest. We went from a society where Canada was the most respected and strongest armies in the world, and that now we gone into our army is decimated, and then you have the I mean, let's call a spade a spade. You have the influence of George Soros and Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and the WHO. I mean, and this DEI stuff. It's just it's and they've taken a group of minorities and made them more powerful than a group of majority.
Hmm. Yeah, you said a beautiful sentence like they from a minority like group of minority they made them like most powerful. Like so, what should be done to get rid of all of these one? Like, do we need what should Canadians do or Ontarians do to make sure we should get rid of these like radical ideologists or whatever you call it?
Well, first off, we have to pull out of the United Nations. I mean, they've overstepped their boundaries. We have to pull out of um, the World Economic Forum, and we have to pull out of the World Health Organization. And because it's like this DEI program, like you look, I think it was 2021 or 2022, we spent $26 billion on these DEI projects in other countries in the world.
Yep.
Like we don't like. I know people say, well, the pride community, whatever. Well, they have to be respected too. Yeah, you're right. What you do in your bedrooms is none of my business. Just like what I do in my bedroom is none of their business. Like it's like, but all this DEI is being just thrown in everybody's faces everywhere you walk, whatever. It's like like our schools are infested with the pride curriculum. I mean, it's we have to like our country is based on the supremacy of God and rule of law, and just like the states were built on in God we trust, and both countries based on the Ten Commandments, which everything that they're trying to push right now goes right against the Ten Commandments. I mean, and I don't mean to be this religious thing, but the Ten Commandments are they're pretty straightforward down the line. Like if you kill, if you kill, steal, whatever, you basically you're going to have ramifications for doing that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yep.
Now it's just like it seems like the governments and they uh they just they're pitting the minorities like and pitting them against the majorities, and that's why we have the biggest rift. Yet the you gave we wanted to be fair with them and with the minorities, and we gave them an inch, and now they're going slowly
Hmm.
but surely. They're taking it goes from an inch to a foot to a mile, and now they like just for example, like the Pride Month. I mean, Pride community. And I'm not here to put them down. Don't get me wrong. What they do in their own lifetime and lifestyle is not none of my business. But when affecting the whole country. It's like you give them an inch now you have Pride Month and now they have Pride season, and they're in the schools and they're putting all this ideology on kids, where kids let them go to school and let them learn education. What a concept, like that's what school is supposed to be for. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the human brain is not fully developed until what, 20, 24 years old in that area. So they're so influential, and just let the kids learn about history, let them learn about math, learn how to read and write English. I mean, that's first thing. That's one thing that's kids can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea how to. I'm not saying all of them, but like you look at Ontario, the the score. Like if you look at the scores in math and literature and English and all that, they're very low compared to what they were years ago.
Yep. So, so right now, so what plans you and your party is like to make improve like these things? Like particularly, what should be taught in the school, or how to change the syllabus or whatever there are.
Well, first thing we have to get the DEI out of schools. First, that has to go. And as a Christian, we have to. Back in the days, we used to say Lord's Prayer. I know people. I mean, but that's what our country is based on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a structure, and it actually people said the Lord's Prayer, and whether you believe in God or not, but it gives the kids the proper the things that you do and things you're not supposed to do, like the rights and wrongs, like that shouldn't steal and stuff like that, and we just have to get this DEI ideology out of the schools completely.
Mm-hmm. And for that, you need to come in power. So I need to ask you, like, how are you receiving when you go for door knocking at your riding?
Well, we in Sault Ste. Marie, I'm sure you heard of the Million Man Marches.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I put on I along with help with other people, we did the Million Man Marches in the Sioux your last 3 times, and we got backlash the first one, and but the second one, I actually what I did is I hooked up with one of the organizers of the Pride community, and I said let's sit here and have a civilized conversation together. So the girl and I, we sat back and forth, and we didn't disagree. We didn't agree on everything, but we did agree on a lot of things. I told her, I said, like, look at this. We just sat here for half an hour talking back and forth. You didn't yell at me, and I didn't yell at you. And we discussed our ideologies. And at the end of the event, we gave them the mic to speak too. And as long as they as long as they weren't speaking vulgar, whatever. And it was the same thing on our side. Like, and I hate to use that term, sides, whatever, but I told like I didn't want any of my side to call them names or anything. We want to be civil. And actually, the liaison officer that was taking care of looking over the event, he said never in the history of protest, whatever, he said he's never seen two sides get together at the end of the event and actually have a mic together back and forth. And he took a picture of it and he sent it to all police stations all across Ontario. He goes, this was the most beautiful thing that you guys could actually get a mic back and forth without cursing and swearing or yelling at each other. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my whole goal, because when I told it, surprised me, whatever, like this wasn't a protest against them. I said, when I explained to the girl I was talking to, this is a protest against the municipal government, the provincial government, and the federal government of their overreach of what they're telling parents how to take care of the kids, and what they and parents have no say what they're teaching and what they're teaching in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I told them, we're like the reason I did this rallies and the reason the Million Man marches is we're standing up for their kids too, even though again, I don't agree with their lifestyle, but that, again, that's none of my business. That's what they do, what I do is two different things. But when the government is overreaching and telling parents that we're not going to tell you what your kids are doing in school. I mean, that's basically what the Million Man marches are.
Mhm. Yeah, but are you receiving enough support right now on your election campaign that you can win or your party? Or I need to know like how much support do you are you receiving particularly in your own riding?
Yes, I mean, I think the problem is, and I think you know this too, is that people don't want to come out live on TV and say what they feel because they're afraid of being persecuted. But behind the scenes, yeah, the people are done with the governmental overreach and the DEI ideology, even just being thrust on society. So
Hmm.
because everybody's afraid to talk because like you look at the convoy, whatever, and what they did, it's like they're afraid that if I speak up, I'm gonna get thrown in jail or I'm gonna get a ticket, whatever. So I think the average Canadian is looking for they're looking for somebody to speak for them.
Hmm. Yeah, and but always we see like on election day and what like Doug Ford called a selfish or meaningless, whatever you call it, like $189 million election,
Yeah,
which
no,
would be
yeah.
meaningless, like he's called like for his own for to save his own job. And but do you think we would have like a big turnout? And if like we don't have it in the past, but so what are the factors behind it? Like we don't get like huge turnout, and what should be done to encourage Ontarians and Canadians to get out and vote on every election day?
Well, actually, I was talking to I went down uh, one of my team. They went down. They had to go down to elections, Ontario and Sault Ste. Marie, and he said the turnout early for early votes was very high. He was really shocked. So I know I would think that this is might be one of the lowest
Mm-hmm.
turnouts, but it's so unpredictable. Maybe it could be a revenge election. You know what I mean? Like with Doug Ford calling an election a year and a half before he should have. So it could be a revenge election
Hmm. Yeah, I hope like it would be a big turnout, and there must be a change in the Queen's Park, and we don't need Doug for the next 4 years. Like Canadians are
guaranteed.
sick with Liberal government.
Like in the Sioux here, the PCs they didn't have a voice into who they want elected for the candidate in Sault Ste. Marie. Doug Ford he pre-elected somebody.
Hmm.
Like in the Siouxites aren't very happy with that. Like I mean, the Sioux is a very tight community. It's a very Italian. It's an Italian community, and they're very tight knit and a close community. And for to have a somebody from outside, even though uh, Chris Scott, even though he's been here 5 years, but the Stewites they prefer somebody that's been born here. So,
Hmm.
which I'm sure a lot of communities are like that. But
Yep. Yeah, like PC, like they, I don't know, like where I live in Kitchener, like Kitchener Center, we have our like candidate from PC who is Rob Ilott. He does not live here. He lives, I don't know, like where he lives, and I did not see any like candidates are knocking my doors. Like I asked my family member, did they send any campaign flyer? No. So what the hell are you doing? Like you are not campaigning and doing nothing. And even I heard like I was reading today in a report that Doug Ford particularly told his candidates that you should not give interviews to anyone. So this
yeah,
does not make any sense. Like I think like no one appeared many places. I was speaking with someone like I think from New Blue Party candidate who told me that there was like debate like all our candidates, but PC candidate did not show up.
Well, that actually, it's funny you bring that up because yeah, this PC candidate up here, he's not. Actually we had two debates here, or meetings, whatever you want to call them, and the only candidate that showed up was the NDP candidate. And people are saying, well, why is that happening? And well, first off, I didn't get an invitation. They didn't invite me.
Mhm.
Uh, the Liberal candidate, they didn't invite him either.
Wow.
And the PC candidate, he didn't get an invitation either. But meanwhile, like I think it was the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Association and Steelworkers Local 2251 that put on these meetings or debates. And they said they reached out to everybody, but nobody contacted uh, replied.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, like Chamber of Commerce and Sault Ste. Marie, they seem to get a hold of all the candidates, no problem, because I was invited, had an interview with the Chamber of Commerce, and I've been invited to a couple one other. There was supposed to be one in the library, but it was too the election's too quick, so they couldn't get it really going. But they seem to know how to get hold of me, and even going to university, same thing. So people are still are wondering, okay, how is it that, no pun intended, but two unions put on two debates, and the only person that showed up was the NDP. I mean, it's like people are saying, "What's going on here? Something's not right." So, and then there was a third debate just happened the other day, and I was actually going to speak at a retirement home, and I was on the way there, and it said, Arnold, you have to stop at the Legion because they're having a candidates meeting. I said, okay. So we thought that it was because of they're they were trying to fix up why no candidates were coming out to the debates kind of deal. But what ended up happening, walked in there and there was all these people, and there was about 50 to 75 people in there. And they said, okay, what's okay? And so I talked to the organizer and said, well, I thought this was a candidates meeting. No, it's a meeting, but it's debate, whatever. And I asked him, I said, well, how come you guys didn't invite me? He said, well, we're inviting the four main parties. I said, you do know there's six parties in Sault Ste. Marie too. He said, yeah, we do. I said, well, I'm from the New Blue Party, and I said, you didn't connect with me or contact me. And they said, well, you're here now. Do you want to go up? Do you want to go up on stage and debate? I said, okay. I mean, it was like I wasn't going to say no, but I mean, so I just got thrown into the wolves then, and I have no idea what they're talking about, whatever. But it worked out pretty good though. But
Mm-hmm.
I will commend, it was a retirement group, and I will commend them that they, after the debate, whatever, they really apologized that they didn't invite me, and they said next time we will make sure you're invited. And they said it's wrong. They were very classy about it, and they had to write my name up there really quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
but it was, I mean, got thrown to wolves then, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, like I'm also noticing like particularly like smaller parties or independent candidate like a New Blue Party or a candidate like you from New Blue Party always being ignored. Like whenever a debate happens, like we know like our debate. There were two debates from media, and there was another one from Northern Ontario. I don't know, like that community, whatever you call it. So they hold a debate, but from like four major parties. And we also see like when the news channel, like particularly national media, CBC, which is being funded by Canadian taxpayers, which also gave the highlight to four major party. It does not give a damn about like what are other like candidates. It means those are not just four candidates. There are six or seven candidates. Like particularly from New Blue Party, or there is another party, Ontario Party, and Canadian Choice Party. It means if you go on, like there could be many other party, but right now New Blue Party is very like popular among communities which is a new party, but they are growing. So I need to ask you, what you been interviewed by any other media outlet, particularly national media?
Yeah, I was interviewed actually last night by Diverge.
What?
Diverge, yeah.
And did CBC or CTV or Global or any other newspaper contacted you or news channels?
No, well actually locally we had Sue Today. When I when I actually was registered, they interviewed, and I will give them, I will commend Sue Today. They've been very fair to me,
Hmm.
very fair. Like even I did a letter to the editor because of why we weren't being in on the other debates, and I put the rules and laws of election interference. But no, Sue Today, I will say they've been very, very fair to me. And the other newspapers who star is in the debate. I was closing marks said our country is based on the supremacy of God and rule of law.
Hmm.
And the Sioux Star actually said, well, Mr. Heino put our country is based on the supremacy of country. Like, are you kidding me? Like you actually bastardize our charter rights.
Hmm.
I mean that is so that that the first line in our charter rights is all by itself. I mean that's sacred to our country. And you have a local media like Sault Ste. Marie that actually did they no pun I don't mean to swear away, but they bastardize that first sentence to say the supremacy of country. Like are they afraid to say the word God? I mean it irritated a lot of people in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yep. Yeah, I know, like lots of things happening, but with respect to religious and Christianity and uh, it mean the country was built on those principles.
Yeah.
That is another topic. We may discuss it like later or another time. And I did like couple of interviews on that, and I wrote column on that, like burning of churches in Canada, and no one gave a damn about that. Uh, I need to like so just to confirm, you have not been contacted by CBC, right? Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Okay, so I actually funny you bring that up because the NDP candidate, she had an interview with I think the guy's name is Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and she said she's disappointed in a non I can't remember the exact words she was in, she's disappointed that candidates didn't show up to the debates. So she did a whole thing on that. So I read one of uh, my friends sent that to me, and I read it. I said, this is BS. I wrote back to him and I said, okay, this is an absolute lie that she's saying that she's disappointed in non-participation from other candidates. Here's the truth. And I reached out to him. Actually, I wrote him a letter just 2 hours before you and I before this interview. And so I told him, this is actually what happened. I said, I gave my phone number. I said, if you want the truth, you can contact me. I said, there will be other candidates that are going to respond to what the NDP candidate said too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
Okay.
mean, the people of Sault Ste. Marie deserve, they need to know the truth because there was interviews that they like Sue Today or Sue Star would say, and people will write in, well, at least she showed up and we're going to vote because she showed up and nobody else showed up. No, they need to know what the whole story is. And unfortunately, the news media doesn't tell the whole story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they will tell like what benefits to the major parties, particularly governing parties.
Yeah.
This is how things work. Like they pay them. If you say it indirectly, but that's the truth. Like our media is being paid by our government.
Like
Uh
Rogers TV did reach out, and I had to do a video for them because they're doing a video for all the candidates. So I haven't seen it yet, but they I did the video, sent it to them. So what they do with it is up to them, I guess. So
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump to another topic. I don't know, like, if you heard it or not, but in Ontario, there is lots of wage theft is ongoing, and our government is doing nothing. Like, does not give a damn about this thing. Pardon me, my language. But Doug Ford particularly said that he is a businessman, not a politician. So it means businessman always cares about their business, not the workers or those like or their employees. So I know, like, there are many companies like Simplify Supply Chain Solution or Dutchies, or there are some other restaurant which are like they are not paying their worker, even though there are some like employers who are training their employees for that employment. They also don't get their training hours, which is disgusting. But we don't. We have laws, we have regulation. Our books are full, but they're not being enforced. So I need to ask you, like, if you get elected or your party, what would you do? Make sure that these labor laws should be enforced at the workplace.
so I looked a little bit into the Dutchy thing, whatever down there, and we actually see same as the employers up here are pretty good. They're I will say, and I like I've never had any problems. I never heard of anybody else having any problems up here. So, but that Dutchy thing, I mean, I mean, they're getting away with murder. No, I mean, they are. I mean, it's like they get a slap on the wrist, and even if I just I don't know too much about it honestly, but reading into the Dutchy thing, the employees that lost all that time and hours and wages, they're not going to get it back.
Yep.
The employer, he gets a $50,000 slap on the wrist, even if he pays that. But is because I think that store closed now, right?
I think two stores are closed. Still, one store is running. It
Yeah.
means
So
he is still in the business.
like that's fraud and that's theft. I mean that's I mean it's I think that should be scaled. I mean fraud. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Fraud's a pretty serious thing. So I mean a $50,000 fine, and from what I read, hardly anybody gets that have to pay that anyway. They get a slap on the wrist. So I mean these I mean looking at that one store of Dutchies there, like I mean, if you want to go by today's sort of DEI ideology, I mean that guy should be thrown in jail because if he's calling his employees names and all that, they should be charging him under the DEI Act kind of deal, and that guy would be thrown in jail in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
But
but yeah.
go ahead.
Mhm. I said, like, Doug Ford like proposed like more fines to such corporates, but like fine does not do anything. If you need to do anything, you need to sanction them. You need to ban them lifetime. They should not be able to do business again.
Like I would hope that like I feel bad for the employees because of all the monies that they've lost, and I'm again I don't know because. But are they going to get that money back? Is the guy going to pay that money back? I highly doubt it
Yep.
because I don't think the insurance company, unless whatever insurance he has. But I mean, you can go to court and sue the guy all you want, and even if he goes to jail, are them poor people going to get their money back?
No, I don't think. I think like they are in the court. I don't know like what's going on down there. But someone told me, like, he's my new co-worker at a new play workplace. So he told me, like, this company owes him like $3,000, and he told me he is an international student from India. Okay, he said these words. He said, it mean he explained all his story, like what's happening. There is wage tape. He did not get his pay. Then at the end, he said, "This is Canada." Like, can you believe it? Someone like from coming from outside and calling out Canada. I mean, this is new normal in Canada. I was shocked and ashamed as a Canadian. Like, what the hell is going on in our country? That for what we are always proud of, like Canada always being praised for what's happening. Like, it is always being ranked as first country. It seems like we are getting closer to third world country.
Well, I think the immigration factor has a lot to do with that. So, like, we're bringing in too many immigrants too fast. I mean, we don't have the structure for it, and it's unfortunately, it's there's some nefarious things going on between some bad entities in India and some bad entities in Canada, and they're giving the immigrants a false sense of security coming over here.
Mhm.
Somebody's making money in the process, and I think actually I think the Indian government is looking into that right now.
Yep.
That there's a lot of criminal offenses happening.
Hmm. Yeah, but that is not about the immigration like this wage tip. I know, like there are some employer, particularly someone mentioned it to me that those employer there are some not the Dutchies one or Simplify one. I know
Yeah,
like the Simplify owns by a white woman and
right.
the Dutchies owns also by a white man, I believe, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
But there are some other employer, like owning a restaurant. Like I know someone told me there is a restaurant in Kitchener. They pay their workers on cash, but they don't pay it on time. It will take sometimes they're late for weeks or months. Like someone else told me that there is an employer from Pakistan. Okay. So
okay.
I don't know, like you work for him, like then they say, oh, we are not satisfied with your work. Like I think he did cleaning or like that. And someone told me like that someone worked for that employee, but she did not, but the worker himself or herself did not mention it directly, but some her friend or who said that I know her, she mentioned it too. She worked for three employers. They did not pay her, and those
Oh,
employers are from Pakistan and India. It means they are Indian and Pakistani employer.
wow.
Like they have their own like psyche. As I lived there, so I know like how people psyche is. So right now, where they know like the government cannot do anything to them, at least they put some fines and they can deal it. I mean, these things are going on. So I know like this is DI, but there are also some regulation are not being implemented. So do you have
I,
a solution?
well, I think like Sault Ste. Marie is a lot smaller. Like I think we have a population of about 80,000, so it's a lot smaller than obviously down south. But I mean, I maybe but what I don't know that I can't quote on situation down there because I haven't seen it. But I mean, we do have laws and regulations there, and maybe they're not strict enough, and maybe the thing is they're not enforcing it enough. That's probably is the latter. Is they're they're not enforcing enough. So like you said that the Dutchies thing there, like I mean, the $50,000 slap on the wrist. I mean, maybe they have to put in fort make them higher, and if they're actually abusing their employees, and really you could actually say if they're not paying them, and if they like let's say they work 8 hours, as well, I don't like the way you work, so I'm not going to pay you. I
Hmm.
mean, that's actually a form of mental abuse kind of deal because what does a person like work 8 hours and they're looking forward to getting this paycheck and to pay for groceries, whatever. So I mean, that's again, that's you could almost put that as a case of fraud. So
Hmm. And let's jump to another topic. Sorry, it's taking too long. But
yep,
like we have like cost of living and everything is expensive. If you go walk to a grocery store, you will realize that everyone when thing is up. Like tea bags, which was just $6 or $7. Now it is $12. Eggs expensive, milk expensive, bananas got expensive. Do you know?
yeah,
They were 57 cents or 58. Okay. So now they are 69 cents if if you don't know like per
yeah.
pound. So it means everything is getting expensive. So, like, there are some parties are proposing universal basic income, and Doug Ford gave us like $200 one time, one time check. Like, we need to enjoy and vote for him. I'm not going to vote for him. I just need to confess here. I'm going to decline my ballot on the election day. Yeah. So because like like these politicians don't work for me. I have lots of trouble with my own local MPP, which is from Green. Lots of things. Okay. So yeah, what plan do you have, particularly for cost of living?
Well, first off, we have to get, and I know no other party wants to talk about it, but we have to get out of the Paris Treaty Accord. That is killing us. And that's like everybody's axe tax, whatever, but until you get out of the Paris Treaty Accord, we're not going to be axing the carbon tax. That is killing our country. It's affecting the farmers, it's affecting the truckers, it's affecting everything. It's and now April 1st, guess what's coming up? Another 20% hike on the carbon tax.
Yep.
That's killing our country. And farmers have had to reduce their big farms down to a quarter size. They can't afford to run the whole farm. So first off, we have to get out of the Paris Treaty Accord. That's that's what's killing us. I mean, I think that's the first step.
Hmm. And what else more to be done? Like, should do you support universal basic income?
Absolutely not,
Why not?
because I don't want to live in a communist country. I
So,
mean, and it's funny that you see, say, Doug Ford put out that $200 check. I haven't received it yet. I mean, not that I really care, but I mean, that's the way buying votes. But you look at the NDP, they want to come out, they want to give everybody a $122 check at the end of the month for food supplies. Well, who's going to pay for that?
mhm,
Like, I mean, you can see slowly but surely they're turning us into a communist country, and we need to capitalism. I mean, people need to be able to learn earn their own wage if they want. I mean, we have to what's the word I want to say entice businesses to grow. But what they're doing, they're trying to stifle business. They're putting all this red tape on businesses, and you can't you if you can't and DI is one. And that's another thing we have to get rid of is the DI program. Well, if you don't hit this goal, then you have to make sure you have the equal number of colored people, equal number of
yep.
and that's killing businesses. You have to hire the best person for that job.
Hmm. Yeah, and also we need. I know, like the government bureaucracy everywhere. It is full of like DEI. Like you must
Yeah.
have this, and particularly in our federal government, we have this much women and this much people of color and this for ministry. It doesn't make any sense. Like
No,
this is
like
completely
like
rubbish.
like I mean, you have to give incentives. You have to give business incentives to grow. Like, and I'm not talking about grants because if you give somebody, like, if you get a new startup company and they're asking for a grant right away, well, they're already behind the eight ball. I mean, it's nice to get the grant, but they're already behind the eight ball. But I think, and you might know better than I do, but it was a couple of years ago. There was this, I can't, it might have been a relay or somewhere down south that what they proposed was to give business on the main, like downtown and all that, to get to revitalize their downtown is tax-free for a year,
Hmm.
no land taxes for a year to get their business going, which I think is a good idea. And that way it gives them break, and then they're not asking for grants or anything or monies to get their business going, but everybody knows that it takes 5 years for a business to get going.
Hmm.
You're not going to make any money in the first 5 years unless
Hmm.
you get really lucky. But I mean,
Yep.
it's a long term effort.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Arnold, for joining me. So, do you have anything else you would like to share? If I did not ask you.
No, I think again, we have to get our country back to the supremacy of God and rule of law, the way a country is founded on. And I think we have to get to the one thing I really firmly believe on is it has to be we the people and not we the government. We have to get back to that. And the sad part is politicians, they leave, they go to Queen's Park and it's like they go there working for the people. And then when they come back from Queen's Park, they come back working for the government. So we have to get people on there that can't be bought. And it's the people that we have to work with. We are just the messenger for our community. And that's the way I look at it. I'm the voice for the community. What do you want me to bring to Queen's Park? It's not me, what do I want for you? It's like I'm just your voice. I can give you ideas, but in the long run, it's the electorate's ideas of what they want for me to bring to Queen's Park and fight for them.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Mr. Reno, once again. I always ask this question to any political candidate appearing on the Sami Parvez show. Is right now you are running as a candidate, you have never ran or got elected for office. So it is easier to get access and reach to you for request for interview. Like unlike other candidates. So I also ignored. I need to say it again. It means liberal, conservative, green, and NDP. I don't send invitation to them for appearing on the Sami Parvez show because I sent them lots of requests and they always ignored it or denied it. So that's why I stopped sending it. But I need to ask you, like, as right now you're running as a candidate, if you get elected, can you please comment? Would you be willing to appear again on the Sami Parvez show?
100%.
Thank you. And just last question. I know like you already shared why you are running at this time, but do you have a specific message to Susan Saint Marie? That is called right? Susan Saint Marie?
Sault Ste. Marie.
Susan Marie.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So what's your message to Susan Marie residents? Why should they vote for you in this election?
Why should they vote for me?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to fight for them, and I'm going to make Sault Ste. Marie. Unfortunately, Northern Ontario and Sault Ste. Marie, we get. I think the Ford government forgot about us, and my goal is to make Sault Ste. Marie the leader in Ontario. Like we have a steel plant here, we have great resources in wood manufacturing. It's time to bring Sault Ste. Marie, and we're right in the hub of Canada, right in the center of Canada. It's time to make Sault Ste. Marie a leader in Ontario, if not Canada.
Okay. Okay. Once again, thank you so much, Arnold, for joining me and wishing you very best on your election campaign and looking forward to seeing you the next MPP for Susan Murray. And
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
my pleasure. And hopefully, seeing you again on the Sami Parvez show.
Well, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Have a good night, and you please take a good care of yourself.
Okay, God bless.
Yeah. God bless you.
Okay.